βρισκόμαστε είναι το μετόχι του μοναστηριού μας, Παναγία στο Vryoulos.
We are now in the dependency of our monastery, Panagia of Vryoulos, which is located in Oropos, very close to the monastery of St. Porphyrios. Our elder in blessed memory, Father Gabriel Tsafos, built it with great love, wanting to do something for the children. That was his deep longing. He himself was a refugee from Anatolia. He was born in the settlement of Panagia in Athens, where all the refugees lived. He grew up fatherless. The 4 children were raised by their mother with great effort, and he too had to work from a young age. That's why, when he grew up, he wanted to do something for the children. He had never had holidays. He was always working.
Μετά από πολλές περιπέτειες.
So, when he became a priest, he started looking for a place. And after many adventures, he found this blessed place here. In fact, it was St. Porphyrios who gave it to him, who himself was looking for a place for his spiritual children. And when he found out that Father Gabriel wanted to buy it, he handed it over to him and asked him, "What are you going to do with it?"
Δεν ήξερε τι να του πει, του λέει, δεν ξέρω, λέει κάτι για τα παιδιά, δεν ξέρω.
Father Gabriel was young and somehow disconcerted. He didn't quite know how to answer. So he said, "I don't know, something for the children." So St. Porphyrios blessed him to take it. This happened in 1980. In 1993, we were coming here to Oropos as university students to this place. For many years, it was a youth center which hosted many children. We would come, work, have a very nice day in nature. There was a church a little lower he had built on purpose, so the children could go pray or play. We experienced it as a place for recreation, and we loved it very much. Finally, in 1993, we decided with the blessing of Father Gabriel to start living here permanently. And so, little by little, from a youth center it evolved into a monastery for nuns and was inaugurated in 1996. Also, to not upset anyone, because the Church of St. Andrew was a vivid community, he was the priest of the Church of St. Andrew in the America Square in Athens, the place of martyrdom of St. Philothei. He found another place a little further down the street, very close to our little monastery, where he built a youth center along with the summer camps to have a balance. He had a lot of love and that authenticity in his faith, which characterizes the people of Anatolia. He kept saying his first elders were his mother and the grandmothers in the neighborhood, who were all refugees, with grief, who had lost someone and had been abused by the Turks, but yet they were united, loved each other, visited each other's house, and shared everything they had. They laughed and sang together, while also having their problems and fights. It was a vibrant community. His first church experiences were those of the neighborhood and his ministry at the Church of St. Stylianos in Gizi, where he was never absent from the age of 6 until he was 25, going to night school, coming back because he was working all day. The guardian of the church lamps loved him very much. She was also from Anatolia. So he learned a lot about life, faith, about people, and their problems. His spiritual father, Father John, was there, all the years of his childhood. At an age of 25, he was ordained a deacon, and 30 a priest, always longing to serve young people. He wished to serve at the Church of St. Andrew because he had visited it as a young boy and had loved it. When he found out it was the place of the martyrdom of St. Philothei, he prayed, "St. Andrew and St. Philothei, let me be a priest and finally die here." They gave him this gift, and so, from 1974, when he became a priest, until 2018, when he passed, he was there all the time. And at the same time, he was also building his place here. What was a youth center then and now is a monastery, a path woven with stones and love alike. All was literally built from scratch. There was nothing here beside 2 or 3 trees. It was all built by the love of the parishioners who believed in him and by his own sacrifices and concerns, because what he wanted was to build a monastery sometime. So, when he matured and had us who wanted to serve, he made his cross. He received the blessings of St. Paisios and of Father George Kapsani, whom he loved and respected. and we started to prepare the monastery.
Και στη συνέχεια ετοιμάστηκε το μοναστηράκι και ξεκινήσαμε δηλαδή. Η λαχτάρα του γέροντά μας ήταν να κάνει ένα γυναικείο μοναστήρι.
Our old man's longing was to make a monastery for nuns, for his role model was, as I said, his mother. Also, he loved the Panagia greatly, and he somehow envied us women, so to speak, saying that you come from the lineage of the Virgin Mary. He loved women's monasticism very much. He said when he would see nuns coming to his neighborhood, or when he would go to the small monastery at Turkavounia, Athens, that still exists, and would see the nuns, he would be jealous, seeing how familiar one can feel in a monastery. This made him very happy. And what he longed for was to make a monastery that would be open to people. He always stressed to us, a monk should not have a gender, therefore he did not focus on our gender, but he must be like an angel. Every person entering the monastery should feel welcome. He said, even a glass of water has to be given to him with so much love that he will feel that it is for him, that you are looking after him, and not just giving him something to make him go away. And the same should be said for every person, making no difference between them. All people may be welcome. His example was a monastery down in Gerontissa, where as a child he was going in the summers when he wasn't working. He would go to Father Theoctistos. It has been many years since Father Theoctistos passed at the age of 100. He was a holy elder at the monastery of John the Forerunner in Gerontissa, in Stemnitsa. He told us that Father Gabriel had a lot of jobs as a child. The elder never asked him what he was thinking to do, or said that the monastery is the only way, because many times, when loving what we do too much, we may become a little one-sided to other people. For us, it may be the only way, but for another person, it may not be. Sometimes, out of excessive love, we may think that others must do the same, but Father Theoctistos never told him that. He never wanted to influence him. Also, our elder told us that he was an extraordinarily simple man. You would never get to see him. He was always doing something. So the elder said, I want to build a monastery, just like that. Simple, humble, poor. Fortunately, we were able to visit the monastery and meet Father Theoctistos. It was difficult to go down there. People usually went with their animals, but you could feel the grace of the Holy Spirit in there. That simplicity, that holy simplicity, that grace you could see in the face of the monks. But you had to look for them, because they were simple people and doing their jobs. I remember our elder saying, I want a monastery like this. A monastery where the abbess is indistinguishable from the other sisters. A monastery that doesn't want to show off, that has no need of having imposing buildings, large decorations. Why? Because as our 30 years of being here teach us, people find rest in a simple smile. When people suffer, they don't care about your nice buildings, about your chandeliers. People just want a simple little corner to fit in. So that was his dream. That is the least you have to give to your least brother, to give it with the same love and affection. So he feels that you truly are his sister. So in that sense, he valued femininity. He thought that women, here he made a distinction, have open arms for everyone, as he knew from his mother. For the outcast of the neighborhood, she would set the best table. When she cooked, while herself being poor, with very little minced meat, she'd make the most wonderful meatballs. She would go through the whole area of Turkavounia to find out who was pregnant, so they could eat first to not have any harm, and then she would go back to her children. There were monks passing by selling things. She invited them. That was his example. The people of the past didn't have the opportunity to visit monasteries, to have experiences. As I mentioned, the Turkavounia were next door, the church of St. Stylianos. Even when he joined as a catechist at the Church of St. Andrew, he was already quite old. Even though he was in the church since childhood, and even though the churches of St. Stylianos and St. Andrew were close, people back then would not leave their parish. That's what he was trying very hard to get across to us. Stay in a place to take roots and you'll grow, like a little tree, he said. If you're in a place, you'll grow a root. If you leave, you'll pull them out. If you leave again, it will be hard. So this monastery is the fruit of this kind of parish life and love.
Ζωής και αγάπης.